When High on Life was first introduced at the Xbox and Bethesda showcase back in the summer, it was immediately one of my most anticipated games of the year. Squanch Games is owned by Justin Roiland. Justin Roiland is the co-creator of Rick and Morty. They did release a game called Trover Saves the Universe a couple of years ago. It was a third-person action-adventure game that was also compatible with PlayStation VR. High on Life is a first-person shooter. It is very much in the same vein as a Wolfenstein or like Doom. It is very much a run-and-gun scenario. You're not going to be doing a lot of covering and protecting yourself from gunfire. Pretty much when you shoot an enemy and you kill them, they will drop armor, which you can pick up. So you have an armor health gauge as well as a normal health gauge. And the health gauge will regenerate when you're outside of combat and you're not taking any hits. Very similar to what you would see in Doom or Wolfenstein. But before we get any further, I think it's important that I run down what the game is even about. You are a nameless and somewhat faceless teenager. You're sitting in your house one day playing video games with your sister. Your parents have just left for a trip, and suddenly aliens land in the middle of your neighborhood, and they start taking over the world. These aliens are run by a mafia group or mob group called G3. G3's plan is to take human beings and harvest them as drugs for other aliens to smoke. Soon after, you pick up a talking handgun named Kenny. Kenny is part of this race of aliens called Gatlians. Gatlians are pretty much just a sentient species of handguns and other forms of guns or weapons that talk. Once you teleport your home out of Earth, you land in some sort of alien society, planet, I guess you could say. You quickly meet up with a washed-up bounty hunter named Gene. Gene decides to take you under his wing, and you then take on the role of the bounty hunter. The role of the bounty hunter is you are basically just going to track down each mob overlord and underboss of G3, kill them until you reach the main boss. Pretty much each boss that you kill in the game, they themselves own a Gatlian, and so every single time you kill one of these underbosses, you will receive a new weapon. In total, you will have 4 weapons throughout most of the game. You have Kenny, like I said, he's a handgun. You have Sweezy, which is like an SMG crystal pistol, sort of like what you saw with Halo. They have that weird, I don't know how to explain it, it's a gun they have in Halo. But that's basically how she works. You have Gus, which is a shotgun that's also sort of like a talking frog. At least that's what he looks like. Then you have Creature, and the way Creature works is he basically shoots off offspring, and they are basically like life leeches, and they attach themselves to enemies, and the enemies will lose health over time. All of these guns also have alt firing abilities, which can be used not only in combat but to traverse the world. You also have a talking knife, which you can use to melee kill enemies, as well as open up these chests that have money and other collectibles potentially in them. I almost forgot, you also have a talking knife. You can use the knife to obviously melee enemies, but you can also use it to basically work as a grappling hook. So you can swing across large gaps, attach yourself onto walls. Halfway through the game, you're going to get a set of boots that are magnetic, and you can kind of run up walls with them. But the boots you probably only use like once or twice again throughout the game. The game took me maybe a little over 12 hours to complete, and I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun playing this game. When it first came out, and even when it was first revealed, I remember seeing online a lot of people were criticizing the game, criticizing its humor, over the past couple of years, it seems like we've slowly started to see this crowd pop up of anti-Justin Roiland, anti-Rick and Morty crowd that love to just take the piss out of the series and take the piss out of Roiland and the type of humor that he has. So I will say right now, if you are not a fan of Rick and Morty, if you're not a fan of Justin Roiland, you're going to hate this game. You're probably going to shut it off within the first hour because Justin does a lot of the voices for this game, and the guns talk a lot to you during the game. You can go into the settings, however, and lower the frequency at which you do hear the guns talk and make comments throughout the game. But to be perfectly honest, it doesn't make sense to me why anyone would want to do that. Part of the game's charm are these guns talking and reacting to the world around you and the characters that you meet. Shutting up these guns would be an absolute disservice to the experience. There's also a lot of humor in the NPCs that populate the world and the characters you end up walking up to and interacting with. One of them is, I remember very clearly, is you're kind of about to go into this little area and it's like they haven't noticed you yet. And you're creeping up and one of the henchmen just starts talking for 5 minutes about how he's scared to get this procedure done and he hopes nobody comes and tries to kill him, and hope no one's around and behind me at any moment because that would really, really suck. And I thought that was really funny. When you're in the main hub of the world where your house is located, there's these little TV screens everywhere, and you can kind of just sit there and watch a bunch of these skits that have been made in the game, which some of them are really funny. You can sit in your house and you can actually watch an entire movie from start to finish, as well as other TV series. There is a lot of love that went into crafting the world of High on Life. The gameplay itself, even if you remove the humor from the game, is great. The guns handle really well. They're fun to use. They all seem to be useful. I remember the longer I got into the game and more of these guns that I picked up, I ended up using them a lot. I would switch to Kenny, then I'd switch to Sweezy, and then I'd switch over to Gus and I'd use his alt fire technique. That's like a buzzsaw that you can use to like take out multiple enemies. Then you'd grab Creature and you'd, shoot him onto one of your boss fights and help leech off health from them. And the boss fights themselves are very memorable. There's very, very unique at times. Some of them a little more straightforward. There is one where you basically just kill waves and waves of enemies because your boss is already dead. It's quite humorous how they get there as well. I do remember laughing multiple times in this game because of the dialogue and what is being said by the characters. Now, I like this kind of humor. I like Rick and Morty. I like Solar Opposites. I like Smiling Friends and that type of humor. So it does work for me. I totally get if someone sits there and says, I can't stand this game because I don't like this humor. I will grant people that, but I do think people are being very, very harsh on this game because, like I said, the gameplay is still fun. The guns still work. I really, really enjoyed playing this game, start to finish. I didn't get bored with it at one point at all. Never got bored. Never, ever, ever got bored. The best part is that this game is on Game Pass with Xbox. Right now, as of the recording of this video, it's in the top 5 for most played games on Xbox right now. So this game is doing really well. However you want to measure that success, it's doing really, really well. And if you have an Xbox and if you have Game Pass, there is no reason for you not to pick up and play this game. No reason at all. It's the perfect game for Game Pass. It's the perfect game you're going to want to show people and say, hey, look, this is fun. You're going to sit down during the weekend. You're going to play this for 12 to 15 hours, and you're going to really enjoy it. So that's it. Just a quick video here defending High on Life. I highly recommend it. You're going to enjoy it. until next time.